Music is divinity. It's an energy of divinity. It's an energy of God. It's an energy of the spirit. Music comes from the voice, and the voice is breath.
Yeah.
And it's not your body that makes the music, it's your breath. It's something that when you speak, is the what you speak. So it has always been our power that nobody controls. Nobody can control what you say. You know what I mean?
Hey there, everyone. I go by the name of Adrian Daniels, and this is the Sound of Accra podcast. This is the show where we speak with top Ghanaian founders, entrepreneurs, and creators worldwide with the aim of leaving you behind with meaningful takeaways that you can apply in your life, business, and career. For today's show notes, I'd like you to head over to thesoundofaccra.com/Rocky. That's thesoundofaccra.com/Rocky for all of today's key wisdom nuggets, links, and references from today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of today's conversation. If you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review is very much appreciated wherever you get your podcasts. I'd like to introduce today's guests. So I'm joined with, 3-time Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, activist. I mean, he does it all, producer. He's a Goodwill ambassador as well to the UN and an environmentalist for Africa. The one and only Rocky Dawuni.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you for coming on the show. It's an absolute honor to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be on your show today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to kind of speak to your team, and when they reached out to me and they wanted you to come on the show, I was humbled and I was honored to have you on the show.
Yes.
Just to find out, what you've been doing and who you are and your kind of career and what you've done is pretty remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming down. So just for those that don't know about you, maybe within less than 60 seconds, could you just share with our wonderful audience out there who Rocky Dawuni is?
It's a pretty difficult question to actually think of yourself in the second person. But the thing is that I was born here in Ghana. I'm a native of Ghana. I grew up in Michel Camp, which is a military base right outside of Tema. So from a very early age, I was introduced to music on the radio, and also it was also a time that Ghanaian military was in politics, so there was a lot of politics there. So I grew up in a mixture of, military environment, politics, and music, so
Beautiful.
It kind of shaped my worldview as to what I wanted to do as a musician, so from the barracks, I started working on music. And then when I moved to the secondary school, I started, really applying, kind of what I had, already been inspired as a kid to my music, disturbing everybody in the dorm, writing music, singing, and all of that. But my idea was to also, as a musician, be able to articulate the things that had inspired me, which is being a representation of, the culture, the politics, the aspiration of all the people that I grew up with. And then also being able to be an artist that presented a kind of plural idea as to, communities and humanity, by making music that bring people together, So that led me to embracing reggae music, which became kind of the foundational music, in addition to the high life and all the music that I was inspired to.
Yeah.
And then, that became the foundation of my identity. So as a musician, I really represented these, and I have been fortunate enough to have really be able to take the music right from even our environs to different parts of the world. And then in terms of my activism, to being able to create a network of impact.
Yeah.
And then myself to being able to articulate the belief that I have, in terms of the power of music to bring people together, to having the opportunity to do that on the highest level. So I would say that really defines who I am.
Yeah.
Just,
Incredible in terms of like your upbringing and the influences that's been around you. I'm quite curious. I mean, I think your music, of course, it helps to bring the world together and helps to kind of make an impact. And I think it ties in really well with what you're doing in terms of activism, social impact.
Yes.
Tell us in terms of like how did you kind of get into all of that? Because I think that takes quite a bit of your time now.
Yes.
You're jetting around, you're flying out to different countries and events and programs like the UN, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a bit about what you've recently been up to, because I know recently you just kind of came back from the US.
Yes.
Yeah. Was it the United Nations, or was it COP28?
Yes, I was at the earlier last year, 2023. I was at the United Nations General Assembly. That was kind of like really the beginning. And prior to that, I was at the United Nations Environment, UNEA, United Nations Environmental Assembly, and then also the gathering of all the ministers, United Nations ministers of Africa too, in Ethiopia, for the whole initiative to bring a foundational agreement that was prior to COP28, and then, at the General Assembly this last year too was really a very pivotal time too for me as an activist, at the moment when the Prime Minister of Barbados was on the UN floor and quoted my lyrics as part of her speech to world leaders over there, which showed me especially the impact of, the work that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And it also, for me, was also a testament, that these things are, it comes from a belief, because we all have a certain, shall I say, gifts. And I believe that those gifts are things that are innately in your DNA.
Yeah.
So if you're able to find it and embrace it, you are better able to express and articulate it in a way that it becomes infectious. Many people to see it, oh, wow, this is what you represent. And then people buy into it, and you're able to inspire people. And I feel that for me, that what has been my belief in the music and the power of the music, the convening power of the music. And so, last year with that, this year, the year started off with, and then actually last year before the year ended, I was in Costa Rica, working on initiatives to do with people of African descent. And then that also took me to Brazil.
Wow.
And now we're planning Colombia and other places too, in terms of bringing, so there was the environmental side. There was also the side of really raising consciousness, within people of African descent and the diasporan community, beyond just America.
Yeah.
And then the year started this year too with, in terms of the Grammys, which were, I was nominated last year. This year, I didn't have a nomination, but
the previous year.
The previous year, yeah. So, but I was there more to support, be in the mix, be in the mix, and also because I've been a long-term advocate for the increase of African voices when it comes to Recording Academy and the Grammys. So it was good to see that all of a sudden, there is like an attention on, African music and African music, kind of, gaining a lot of grounds and attention. So there was so much, celebration points this year that it was overwhelming, but it's also a testament to I would say, the innate potential of our music and our culture, especially in these times, to be able to create meaningful impact. But I believe that all of those meaningful impact will depend on how we work to be in charge of that ecosystem, because music is a two-way sword. If it becomes popular, does not mean it could be a tool for, you having no control over it, and it being the messaging being a tool against your society, in terms of amplifying consumerism, amplifying, illusion, amplifying, certain things that are not innately beneficial to the people. But if we are in charge, control, and then we use it more to articulate the narrative as an African, then I believe that we are on the right course. So we are on that kind of crossroads. And I think that there needs to be a lot of thinking, especially in what we consume and what we share.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. I know your music career spans a number of years. How many years has it been roughly? No?
Oh man, it's been quite some time. Right? Yeah, because and the thing is that I have always believed that just like I said early, everything is a mission. And once it's a mission, it's your lifelong journey. So you are part of a scene at the same time too. You're not part of a scene. You're part of a scene because your creativity has to be shared with the world. But at the same time too, you also need those times to where you work on what your creativity is. So a lot of times people ask me, like, in terms of what are the keys to longevity and just being in all of that. It's just believing in what you do and understanding that constantly you're challenging yourself and constantly you're open to learning more, because the more you learn, the more the parameters of your kind of your gaze becomes more expanded, and you are able to see things, you are able to even do the things that better because you have new tools. And so for me, it's the constant thing about never stop learning and never stop growing. And I believe that is what has been the key for me to keep doing what I'm doing until now. Yeah.
Do you think that's been the key differentiator between people such as yourselves who have been going for a long time and been increasing in their awareness to other artists that haven't maybe been as other artists who haven't been around as long?
Yes. I mean, I'll say that for me, that's what works, because everybody on their journey, and the music industry is a very interesting parameters. Things have changed. I mean, if you look there, records like before the internet age, you had to create a record. You had to be signed to a label. The record had to be, you have to get radio in each local area to pick up the music. So you have to have promotion within all those locals for the music to go global. So it was a very sophisticated thing, but now, it has changed. It has changed because you have the internet. The internet, is like, the whole world kind of concise in one little market ecosystem when you think about it in actual fact. And it's a borderless kind of medium. So when you put music out there, there is an ability for it to kind of really be able to be disseminated quicker. So the parameters of how music was being pushed has changed, and I think that we started off, we came from both sides of the paradigm, so you had to do, a hand-to-hand combat, as they say, every medium. And then, of course, now they have the tools, so people are able to push their music much more faster. And so I think that you just have to be adaptable. Apart from listening, you just have to have the sense of adaptability to adapt to new ideas without compromising what is key to your own artistic mission and vision, So I think that once you're able to kind of zone in on that, it ensures a level of constant innovation, and I feel that is kind of the difference between, artists who stay in it for a long time and also artists who are in it just for the quick thing of the allure of the limelight, the fame and all of that, which to some extent, in my opinion, is an illusion because it comes and goes, and it depends on what you use that for. That is what is going to ensure your longevity.
Yeah. And you clearly using your fame and your influence for good, for social impact. Clearly. Okay. Speaking of social impact, I know there's a number of initiatives that you're involved in. Could you talk us through some of these? So, like US Goodwill Ambassador. Could you talk us through some of the initiatives that you're involved in?
Well, I mean, before I will, even touch on that, I will, talk about really what inspired me, because I feel that those are topical representations
Yeah.
of what inspires me to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe that, when each of us is born, when each of us is given an opportunity to life, an opportunity, the breath of life when you wake up, there's a certain thankfulness, to the Almighty for the gift of life. But the gift of life is also about what you do. What kind of legacy do you intend to use that life for? What kind of impact do you use that life? Life is not about, coming in and walking around and, and then exiting without contributing to, the creativity of creation. So for me, I feel that that's the core definition of my intention to focus also on activism, is that, I have the gift of song, the gift of music, the gift of ability to also talk to people, not about, how special they are, but also the power of God that is in them, the importance to also embrace, an idea of humanity too that is just beyond they themselves as individuals, and I feel that that is the fundamental to all of us being able to live harmoniously together. But for me, I also recognize at a very early time in my career too that to also articulate, there's a difference between being able to articulate those ideas and then also being able to make them real impact in the real world. Because we live, ideals and ideas are great, but to be able to transform those ideas into soul, that led to also my belief too that I have to find, organizations and individuals and systems that also share the same vision that I have, and then leveraging my impact to and my belief to be able to work together to make these happen.
Okay.
So those were the things that kind of now, I started engagement with a lot of organizations, and
So that's how that came about.
yes, that's
Everything,
how that came about.
And did they come to you, or did you more like, I've got this great idea?
No, it came to me because I was really, that's what I represented.
Yeah.
And I was doing so organizations,
incredible.
all of a sudden I remember one of the even earliest mission success that we did was actually with the guinea worm eradication initiative that was going on in Ghana.
Yeah.
It was the Carter Center, UNICEF and a whole lot of organizations who were working on it. So at a point they came to talk to me about, they were like, you're from the North, we need somebody to really help us in terms of not only trying to eradicate this issue, but also going into the communities and starting an advocacy within the communities for people to make choices in terms of, the water sources, because they were trying to go to the roots of the problem. So we had to, kind of advocate for clean water initiatives from people who are drilling wells, organizations who are drilling wells, and government, and at the same time to the communities about making sure that when you go and fetch water, even in an area during like the dry season, the processes that you need to go through to make sure that water was potable enough and all of that. So we went on the ground. And what I was doing too was that I also brought a lot of musicians along, because I was like, many musicians who had a platform but were not using it for anything. I brought them along. So I would take them. We went on a mission in the North, different villages, meeting communities, talking to chiefs, talking to leaders, working on music together, all of this stuff. So this was stuff that we were doing. And then at that time too, I had a big festival Independence Day Festival.
Wow.
So the festival was also used as a platform too, to advocate for this.
Yeah.
Then, I started working with the UN Global Fund approached me because they were working, Bono was doing the whole One initiative and all of that. And they were doing HIV/AIDS initiatives in terms of trying to get cheap medication and all of that kind of stuff.
And they had like these iPods or iPhone, the red.
Yeah. That was all of that. So I was engaged to be one of the main voices for that.
That's
and
incredible.
then even through our advocacy, the first funding for Ghana AIDS Commission got like a big funding from the UN Global Fund at that time. For one of the funding from the organization came to, Ghana AIDS Commission, and I also came down, went on the ground, met people, and advocate. So that was how I dealt with things, even when it came to peace building, I collaborated with an organization out of Rwanda, Aegis Trust, to go into Rwanda and travel all around and go and learn the root causes of the genocide there, meet community leaders, work in peace building ideas with, various partners down there in order to push the idea of peace among Africans and also elevation of, the identity of Africa, so that's how I operate, and then with the environmental initiatives too, right now also championing the Regreening Africa initiative that UNEP is putting together, to restore, thousands of, hectares of land, reclaim land, also encourage organic agriculture, sustainability, protection of biodiversity, empowerment of women, inspiring youth. All of these are ideas that I believe, for me, it's more about upholding the greater good in us. So it defines the kind of the umbrella of as an activist. I don't go into activism because, you're a UN Goodwill Ambassador, or you're all of that kind of stuff. Those are all they're just titles for people to obey the mission of what you represent. But the long run is all part of what I see as my mission as a person and an artist and also a citizen of the world, doing my due diligence and also my belief in God as to what I need to use my life for.
That's powerful. That's
impacting.
That's powerful, Rocky.
Yeah.
In the midst of all of this, advocating, fundraising, rallying up other artists, raising awareness, collaborating with organizations, with other communities. What's the main thing? I know your mission encompasses so many different things, but what's the main thing that keeps you up at night in terms of Africa? Because Africa, there's so many things that we need to work on.
Yes.
Infrastructure to the politics, the governments. To solving the labor.
Yes.
What's the one thing that what's one? I know it might be a hard question to answer, but is there?
I think it's simple. I think the bottom end of it is, they said, Africa needs to awaken. You see, when all of these things can be solved when you have a people whose consciousness is awakened as to who they are and where they're going. Once we have that, it will transform everything.
It will unlock everything else.
It will unlock everything. Because, you need to have capital to make a lot of this when you look at the construct of, let's say, an economic model that's based on capitalism. But human capital is actually the real capital. If you wake your people up and say they want to transform the continent, everybody says today, this is Africa we want. We are all going to work together to build this continent. We are all going to go, if it's roads, okay, we'll go and we make it happen with the human capital because we all work together for the greater good of all of us.
Yeah.
If we change that mindset, we will transform everything. So it's all a mindset change.
Yeah.
But if we have been programmed through colonial education and also, subscribing to, the religious concept of constantly waiting for a better life when you die, that's really a fallacy because God will never give us life if life is about waiting to die to go and find that life.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Right
so
now.
Focusing that this is our time, this is our opportunity, and we to awaken, we to work together for us.
Yeah.
If that changes, it changes everything. Everything else, then it's like, okay, economic opportunity, all of this, we work together. African leaders work together. And if you're working towards something that is a greater good, self-service goes to the back because you know that in the long run, when the ecosystem, as a friend told me, why will you fight each other to get a loaf of bread when you can build an oven together and everybody can get a loaf of bread whenever they need it.
It's just incredible. I love quotes like this, and I think, Africans aside, I think as Black people, at least what I see in the West,
Yes.
we're quite kind of selfish, or kind of like, we try and do things for ourselves, but we're not trying to collaborate. We see the Asians,
Yes.
how they build
Yes.
their wealth together.
Yes.
The Jewish communities.
Yes.
We do need to see a lot more of that.
No, we need to see a lot more of that. But you see, that's why I'm saying that the first thing to get over is the mindset, because our mindset has been programmed for a long time. And what we have to understand that we're one of the races that has been enslaved, that has been colonized, that is still is still the pawn of neo-colonization. Any major power that is coming here, it's not coming here, if it's collaborative. Collaborative is about owning the narrative. So everybody that's coming here is looking at winning. So when they look at winning, that means that they have to play the game better than you do. So if you are only in the game just playing and not understanding that even if you have partnerships, you have to know that the partnership is looking for advantages. So we need to get out of that whole thing and start looking at how we work for we first.
Yeah.
If we work for we, then we can be able to also, on equal terms, be able to engage. I mean, we only have to look at the headline and see that who among the people of the world will find resources, and then others will come in. And then you, the one who owns the resources, get the littlest percentage of the resources when it was found in your own ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we have mineral rights. We are the most, but all the deals that our leadership is doing, we are always the last in the deals. What kind of mindset or educational system programmed us to look at that and say that is all right?
No, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
We're understanding ourselves. Look at cocoa, bauxite, gold, all of these different.
Those are leverages.
Yeah.
And if they're leveraging, and imagine when you leverage that even and quantify that as holdings. If you quantify that as holdings, that means you are richer than everybody. So if you have that as holdings, why will gold that is extracted from the ground be used as a platform for currency to be strong? What of the gold that is in the ground? Why can't you, if we had the upper hand, we will quantify that as wealth. And in economics, use that as, this is the resources that we have. We are leveraging that for you to bring us that because we have that is in the ground. But the extractive aspect of it has become more valuable than the ones that own it, And I think that we just need to look at the educational system and know that we have been programmed to feel a certain way about ourselves. We have been programmed to see what wealth is. Wealth is the land that we've been given. And I think that God gave us everything that we need. And we have spent so much time, and others have spent so much time to blind us from seeing what we have. And I think that's why we need to look at, the religions that we follow, this education that we follow, the media that we consume from outside, and see that all of it is meant to keep our mindset in that space so that we never rise beyond who we are. Because we only have to look at history and see that we were enslaved, we were colonized. So if we are engaging the same entities, they're not coming here for our betterment. They're coming here to keep our mindset still in that space. But it's none but we ourselves can be able to rise beyond that. So if we're envisaging a new Africa, the new Africa has to first be in terms of changing our mindset. Changing our mindset and like the little competitiveness. Tribal competitiveness. You go even here, some business that the right person is there. Somebody will be like, oh, Oyedebeni, who is it? What tribe does he belong in? And all of a sudden, it's more about a tribal thing. We get
caught up in more meaningful things.
Exactly. The Prime Directive, we've lost the path of the Prime Directive and fighting over things that are not important to our collective, define our collective purpose and define our collective vision to be able to rise beyond the challenges. The challenges that we have will dissipate when we change our mindset. it's the way we view the world that has really brought all. That's why we go to somebody to go and borrow money when we are sitting on wealth. So we need to, and this is the time.
Yeah.
And this is the time for us to
We
do
shouldn't
that.
be going to the IMF and things like that.
No. We are far too blessed with too many human capital, first of all, which is one of the most valuable things.
I had a guest that said the same thing.
And then we also have the economic capital too that is there. But somebody who doesn't have anything and can push papers can come to you and tell you that they have the higher ground when you have the gold. And then you will go and borrow papers and also phantom money.
Yeah.
That is based on what you already have.
Yeah.
And then you think that that's a better thing to come and go and get, and then you are being used. Debt is being used as a means to depreciate you, to put you on your knees, and all of that because you owe. And then people control your economy, and they're gonna make sure that you never rise above all of that.
It's modern day slavery, isn't it, Rocky?
No. It's slavery has never left. The concept of slavery is just being defined with new tools. And now we live in a time where you don't have to be, you are a free man, but you are not free. You're free to walk around, but the chains are right in the mind.
That's something. That's quite something. You mentioned Rwanda not too long ago. When you look at economies like Rwanda compared to Ghana, we're not trying to bring down Ghana or anything. It's quite different how they operate over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk me in your perspective, like what you like from Rwanda, how they operate compared to Ghana.
My whole thing was that the economic thing is a very complicated thing. It's really a complicated, and I don't want to get into the gist of all of that.
That's okay. That's good.
My Rwanda, I just went to the fundamentals of Rwanda. I was, I didn't want to get caught up in the politics of the place and all of that kind of stuff, because sometimes it blinds you from seeing. I wanted to go right to the people, and see that, okay, these are people that went through the most tragic time in their history. And Rwandese, even the concept of Hutus and Tutsis was a fabricated one. It's not like different people. It's the same people. It depends on, what social structure you belong to and all of that kind of stuff. That was how this whole Tutsi and Hutu identity was kind of created. So it was created. It was not like, this is like even the language is the same. So it was based on a certain, in reality, something that really was not a means by which a people should be divided, and then that was used as a means for the people to rise against each other and really try to annihilate each other. So for me, Rwanda represented like the tragedy of sometimes the divisions that befall us. But the victory of it was that through that tragedy, how they dug themselves out of it and are working towards reconciliation and healing. And that was what really was amazing to me in terms of Rwanda. Everybody can fall. Everybody falls at some point. But how good are you at getting back when you fall? And I feel that shows that the promise of what Africa, all of Africa, and throughout what we've gone through is that we can have that strength of that mindset and willpower to be able to move forward. And then secondly, when it comes to the economy and all of that, it's really hard to tell, because I think that the dynamics of what Rwanda represents is different from where, Ghana, our positioning, and then what we are doing, and, what access to wealth, what access to, shall I say, the ability to navigate the global geopolitics paradigm that they have been doing, and also what our leadership here has been doing. So I feel like it's wrong to compare economically, because it's different dynamics,
Different,
and we have to look at what we have, and I feel that we're constantly looking externally for the hand that will raise us up. We're constantly looking for a savior that will come and transform us when we are actually the savior that we've been waiting for.
That's powerful. So all along, we've had the Superman, the S on our chest, and we've been looking to somebody else. Need design for your startup? Switch to workspaceglobal.com, the internet's simplest design service. Skip the agency and freelancer headaches. Our platform connects you instantly to vetted creatives to get your logos, websites, and marketing materials fast, all managed for you by our team, software, and AI, so you can focus on what you care about most, growing your business. Try us for free. Workspace Global. There's more regarding Rwanda, it was more about looking at Rwanda as inspiration in terms of like equality and distribution and socioeconomic, equality, rather than just the economy itself. This is powerful. These are powerful ideas that we've absolutely explored. I want to go back to the music. So I know, of course, you went to the Grammys recently. I'm sure that was amazing. And then I know you've come up with some songs recently. I know you did this collaboration with Stonebwoy, and then you got a Shade Tree song. That's a fairly recent project as well. Could you talk us through some of those projects?
Yeah. It has been an exciting year because getting ready for a new album that is going to come out this summer. Mm-hmm. So what I did was that the last year I released like 2 advanced singles, So the first one was actually, the advanced single was Never Bow Down, which got nominated for a Grammy. So that's kind of like the so it's like building up to this album. So Never Bow Down was nominated, and then Shade Tree 2 was also the second single. And Shade Tree, was, a very, well received song.
You got in Brazil, didn't
you? Yeah. And then the video too was filmed in Bahia, and for me it was, to also stress on the importance of, the connection between Africa and the diaspora, especially in the times in which we live in, and also being able to understand the social dynamics too of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, the historic background of many of their experiences, and then the shared commonality too that culturally still, is alive in connecting both our people. And it was really a beautiful opportunity to do it through the eyes of music, because music has been also the tool by which we've preserved and all of those history. So being in Bahia, experiencing that, meeting, our brothers and sisters, who've been kind of inspired by West African traditions, especially the Yoruba culture, which is very prevalent there, and even,
wow.
There's a lot of
Nigerian-based Brazilians and
and it's preserved.
Wow.
It's preserved, and it's preserved to the point where you can even find some older practices that probably are not, around right now, that are there, because what they did was that even the concept of orishas, which is part of Yoruba traditional world religion, has been also elevated there more in terms of like the saints, because what they did was that, in also a means by which to circumvent the colonial clamp down on expressing your traditions. Some of these things have to be adapted almost to the religion of the day. So just like how Haiti, Haiti did also in terms of Catholicism and also the African, in terms of African deities and African beliefs, there too, the Orishas are like, kind of were integrated into like the Catholicism and all of that. So they developed it in a way that there was like, oh, okay, this persona reflects this and all of that, in a way to publicly be able to express it without it being clamped down. So you can see that they've been able to develop that concept too in a way
Yeah.
that is very different, but also inspiring and exciting, to learn. So being able to go there and use the music and then the concept of shade tree, which is like the idea of that we were all part of the same, sharing the same shade tree, the same community, but obviously through the concept of, being, kind of separated from each other, through obviously historic happenings.
Yeah.
Now we are still finding a way back by using music to express that and also amplifying the commonalities that lie within us. So Shade Tree was really a song that really articulated that, and that is also coming as part of the album that is
Fantastic.
is on the way coming. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's a very fitting song, to kind of like create and shoot out there, because of course lots of diasporans out in Central South America.
Yes.
How do they respond to the music, your music out there, and what's the energy, and what is the kind of attention that you get out there?
Oh, it's amazing. Brazil, just like every African country or every African diaspora, when you go, the music of the diaspora is popular. So reggae music, African music, all of that, every cumbia, every kind of music that has been created in the Black diaspora finds its way back to a part of the Black diaspora. Just like how reggae is popular here, soca and all of that were popular here. And now Afrobeat is popular over on that other side, and, high life music, all of this. So it's kind of like the cultural conversation that has been going on. So it was very receptive. You go there and you start playing, we feel with our heart and we know each other through our, the genetic memory that we all share, and I think that people just, the music, it was a great opportunity to bring the power of the music and also to amplify, the shared commonality. And at the same time too, the concerts were focused on, the way the people of African diaspora are being treated in most of those countries. Most of those countries have a big Black population, but when you go there, you find that the Black population is also at the lower end of the totem pole. Just like because they came there as slavery, and systematically, although they've found their way into the cultural mix of it, but they still don't wield real power, and they're suffering from same thing that we're suffering from discrimination, from lack of opportunities, lack of education, lack of representation, and and the lack of opportunity. So that was it was important to go there and highlight the systemic racism too that is happening in countries too that are part of the African diaspora, or we have a bigger number of Black people represented there.
I mean, it's quite amazing, Rocky, how things like racism, even when people like Obama was president of America, and he's gone and come, right? He's come and gone, right? It's amazing how these kind of issues still, discrimination, racial inequality and things like that, how these issues are still kind of persisting in this day and age.
No, but the thing is that we shouldn't delude ourselves that, that they're gone, because most of them,
they're not gone.
They became legally integrated into the concept of certain constitutions in countries without it being overtly racist. People use, different ideas of, economic demarcation and all of that. Now there's so many tools. You can keep a community, underserved, under opportunity, under oppression and all of that. And it's being done. So you go to these places, there's a lot of drugs, there's no education. There's a lot of drugs being pumped in. There's a lot of opportunity. So, the society is set up to fail and then be in that vicious circle, So the racism is not whereby they'll come and say, oh, you are Black, you are this, but it's denying you the ability to fully become who you are. It's kind of the model that has been integrated in many social systems. But so it's very hard for you to even point a hand at it, but you see the repercussions or the evidence of it through the societies that is being birthed out of that, So the thing is to really be able to advocate for that. The world sees that, and most of those countries too should you appeal to the higher sense of the conscience of those countries to be able to zone in on those things and try to do what is right, try to bring investments, education opportunity, making sure, those, most of those areas to you go, cleaning it up of crime and, and drugs and all of these things that eventually, does not set up a community to succeed, but sometimes it's very hard to ask the system to police itself, so that is the battle that is still being fought, to find the right, the right space for that. So for me, these concerts were a means to highlight that, and we just did the first two of them, Costa Rica and then Brazil.
Yeah.
And I think the next one we're going to be doing is going to be in Canada.
Brilliant.
Yeah, to bring attention to this issue.
To these issues. So we talked about mindset, as in looking at the way out, looking within ourselves and our potential that can, once we unlock it, can help us get out of these issues and help us to break out from all of these, stigmas, poverty, etc.
Yeah.
Apart from that, would you say music is the way out? Because of course you're looking at Global Citizen concert maybe a year or two ago that took place, what you're doing, the concerts you're doing abroad. There's a lot more now focus around kind of music kind of being used to kind of highlight Africa. I mean, Super Bowl, I think we just had, there was like an advert where it's, highlighting Ghana, I think when Usher was performing. Yeah. Would you say now music is kind of now being used as a tool to kind of help, to kind of break, Africans?
Music has always been our tool of triumph. Even through slavery, you go, you only have to hear of, you go into the slavery thing. They don't have that, but they have the freedom to sing. So they'll be singing, and all of those even work songs found their way into popular consciousness and became huge songs and inspired, Negro spirituals, all of these things that have been given certain names. So music has always had, music is divinity. It's an energy of divinity. It's an energy of God. It's an energy of the spirit. Music comes from the voice, and the voice is breath. Yeah. And it's not your body that makes the music. It's your breath. It's something that when you speak, is the word you speak. Yeah. So it has always been our power that nobody controls. Nobody can control what you say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just have to be, okay, is this the right thing to say or the wrong thing to say? It's your choice. Yeah. So the ability to also express ourselves through music has always been our primary power. But the problem is that it is a two-edged sword. Even when you look at, when you look at music can also be used as a means to target you, whereby your music that you are making doesn't talk about anything. It's mindless. It diminishes who you are. I remember in the times when the amplification of even the word nigger in American rap, and everybody thought it was cool. But it was not cool. It was a word that was used to diminish the value of black people. Yeah. And all of a sudden, people think that because they use it as like a term of coolness, that means it diminishes. It diminishes to a distance, but it doesn't stop the original intention of the word. So you have to be aware of where, that's where when I think of our music getting popular too, is that it also exposes us to the danger of now. It could be used as a reverse source where we are using that to, instead of focusing on the main developmental things, we are focusing on the carnal things always. Black people always think about is just going in and having fun and expressing only carnal things. It's not about, you go onto the internet and it's about some twerking, something, body, this thing. So we're fixated on only all of that. Yeah. And the music is all, geared towards that. And then diminishing the value of even our womanhood, our women, all of that, turning them into objects of sexuality and all of that, rather than the queens which they are. You know, so if you're not careful, that music will also turn around, and then also using the music to also amplify things that are not part of your culture. You know what I mean? Adapting things too that are not part of who you are to break down who you are in order for you to still fall into slavery. So all I'm saying is that it's an energy. We have the power, we have the ability of it. But also, just like everything, if we lose the narrative and the control of it, it's going to be a tool that will be used against us. Look at the musicians who have been have stood the test of time. Fela Kuti, Bob Marley, and all. Look at what kind of music they were doing. The music was not about. There was a lot of music that didn't say anything at that time. Do you hear them? No, you don't hear them
anymore.
So we have to look at our music as something that it needs to articulate the African. This has music of message, big message, high message. You know, music that brings our people together, music that challenges the status quo, a music that empowers us, a music that inspires our people to know that we are masters of our own and not subservient to anybody. That is when we will be talking.
Wow.
That is when our culture wins. That is when music rises to be that divine tool. I always say that David in the Bible, David was king of Israel, not because he was a warrior. He was chosen because he had music. That was his first thing. He was a musician before he was called to be a soldier and a king.
And the funny thing is, Satan was also a musician himself, wasn't he? He was like the chief musician in heaven, wasn't he? Satan, or Lucifer, if you will.
Yes.
According to the Bible.
Yeah. Music was always, and when Lucifer was a musician, he wasn't that rebellious aspect. He was a great musician. That's why he got elevated to that level.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously it was used for something else, you know, but that shows the power that lies in music, that it can either be a tool for positivity or a tool for negativity. But it's a power.
Yeah.
And that's why African music has to be about something. African music cannot be about carnal things. And we should look at how, even when you look at rap music, you know, rap music was a victory for black people, but later on rap music was all that he talked about. It was chains, gold chains, you know. It's still the same chains that way. If you have gold, why do you have a chain?
Slavery, isn't it? Slave mindset.
Slave mindset. It propagated slave mindset in a big way, and it was elevated as an aspiration. And I think to some extent, although the music grew to be a big thing, but socially and mindset-wise, what was the cost to our people?
Yeah, it was a big cost.
Yes.
It's a big cost.
Yes.
Big cost. Rocky, it's been a fantastic conversation. You were at, of course, you were at the Grammys recently, and you were around a lot of African artists and musicians. How do you feel about the future of African music?
I think that it's opportunity, but as I said, in every opportunity, it's like, what do you do with opportunity? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what are you saying with opportunity? What do you represent, and who are you? You know, it can't just be bang, 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 blah, 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 just like without saying nothing, without meaning nothing, without using it for something.
Yeah.
You see, so it's a good time. It's a great time. It's a great opportunity.
Fantastic.
But what do we do with it?
That's the rhetorical question. What do you do with it?
Exactly.
Amazing. 2024, I'm sure the year's looking fantastic for you. What are some of the things you got lined up?
Right now, you know, we're getting ready for some local concerts. I'm thirsty to play here in Ghana, you know, just being out there and all of that. So we're working on a show in April. We're going to start doing some concerts here in Accra as the gradual build up towards the end of the year. It's also an election year in Ghana. So I want to be, you know, very involved in the peace initiatives that are going here, because in the long run, what we need to preserve is who we are, you know, the stability of our country, and also amplifying the social cohesion, you know, and diminishing the tribal vitriol that has poisoned our, you know, kind of election narrative. And then also people knowing that there's something called that is citizen of Ghana that's higher than your political colors, so being able to kind of amplify that, and then the record coming,
Okay.
so the record too is being prepared, and then working on some tours too in the US, and then I'm actually heading right now to Nairobi for the United Nations Environment Assembly,
Okay.
where I'm going to be speaking and also playing, because for me to, when the leaders gather too, I like to bring, like David, I like to bring the message of music first to mindset.
Yeah.
When Saul couldn't deal with the world and he was being this, he needed David to play music so that he can get him into the right, heal him mentally. I feel that music too is a tool of healing. So I always like to bring to the biggest gatherings, and then also to push the environment agenda, the regreening of the continent, the preservation of who we are, the preservation of our soil, the preservation of our arid lands, because I know that most of our countries are selling our land to that we grow food on.
Yeah.
So all of those things, trying to really awaken, the consciousness of our people through whatever my efforts are, and also inspiring others to do the same.
That's the key mission.
That's
the key mission, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful, because we had another guest I was speaking to, and they were complaining about how all of the land's been taken up by property, real estate, and there's nothing left for the farmers.
Yeah. And how much real estate are we building? I mean, people can't even afford it. All these arable land, and who are selling all of these tracts? It's really interesting to see that, real estate, agriculture is where the growth is. Real estate, you building, if your economic level, if we are not elevating the ability of our people to be able to afford those things, and we're just building a lot of them, there's a lot I can tell about real estate. I know that in many countries where you go and there's all those skyscrapers, half of them to 80% of them are empty. Many countries are building it as a showpiece of economic development, so that when you fly into the country, you see skyscrapers and all that. They want to do like America, and many countries that have a lot of money are doing that. But it's not, they can support that because it's a showpiece that you come, it's like, oh, this place is beautiful and all of that kind of stuff. But in the long run, our focus should be more in terms of how do we develop our people
and preserve our culture.
Yes. So our culture, access to land, access to agriculture, so that we can build that capacity of our people to be able to afford the real estate. We don't put the egg before the chicken, or the chicken before the egg. We have to make sure that harmoniously all of that work. But we need to invest more into the human capital of Africa, because in the long run, if it's not about the human beings who live there, then what is the purpose of all of it?
True.
Yeah.
True. It's amazing. One of my guests said trust is the biggest currency, and you said human is the biggest capital.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. That's why you and I are here. 100 years from now, it was somebody else that was, so if at this moment we have to do what elevates all of us and all of this. So the human capital is the most important.
I certainly agree with you. Rocky, thank you for enlightening our audience. I want you to leave the audience with one last thing, because at the end of the day, it's about shaping the mindsets to go and make huge impacts, such as what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
I'd just like you to speak to one of the cameras and just leave one thing they can take away to go and transform their mindset and go make an impact in their own way.
All I can say, is that, we are all gifts in the mindset of the Creator, and imagine each of us was born uniquely out of all possibilities. Even the conception in the womb, there's a lot of possibilities, even from the early part where you were the chosen one to be the one that becomes a baby in the womb of birth. So all of us are special. And if you're able to find that special nature in you, that also lets you know that all the power that you need to become the best of yourself too is already in your own hands. So it's about finding yourself, finding your purpose, working hard at it and knowing that even working hard at it, each stepping stone will come as a stumbling block. But it's about when you change your mindset, you are able to see it for what it is. And when you're able to do that, I believe that you can be able to be the best of yourself. And in the long run, we all become the best of all of us. That's the future.
I couldn't have said it any better than that. Rocky, it's been an absolute honor. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Where can everyone find you, hear your music, keep up with what you're doing?
Yes, Rocky Dawuni, ROCKYDAWUNI, both Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, find me. It's a movement, it's a movement of transforming the continent. It's a movement of transforming the globe. It's a movement of transforming humanity. It's a movement of bringing that energy of God and the light of God through all of us, through the power of music. So join. Peace and love.
Yeah.
Yes, I.
Yeah. You've got quite a considerable following, but I'm pleased you're using that considerable following for good. You're using it for good things and not for bad things, like we discussed.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, there you guys have it, guys. The one and only Rocky Dawuni, musician, philanthropist, entrepreneur, economist, activist, or you can name it all, singer, songwriter. He's everything. And we've just had a fantastic conversation that you guys have just listened to. For all of today's references, key links, wisdom points, head over to thesoundofcrowd.com/Rocky. That's thesoundofcrowd.com/Rocky. We'll have everything in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast player, look in the description below for some links to Rocky's social media. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of the conversation. Get in the chat in YouTube. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Drop us an email, and we'll catch you at the next episode. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Okay. Yeah?
I know I'll go back and I have to get everything out of my hair,
Okay, guys.
Yes.
Hey guys, Adrian from Sound of Crowd Podcast. Just did an absolutely mind-blowing interview with the one and only Rocky Dawuni, 3 times Grammy Award nominee.
3
times.
3.
Yeah, we said 3 times.
Yeah, okay.
We can't get that twisted. 3 times the charm. We can't get that twisted. Activist, singer, songwriter, humanitarian, just an incredible human. Rocky, thank you for coming on the show. Do you have any words for the viewers?
All I want to say is it was really an incredible time to be on the podcast and get to discuss with you, the emerging Africa, and ideas too that are important for all of us to kind of dwell on as part of, creating that conversation that is very much needed. So I had an awesome time. Yeah.
Oh, you'll have an awesome time listening to the interview.
Yes. Check it out.
We'll plug Rocky, and you guys can go check out his stuff, and you can keep up with what he's doing some amazing stuff around the world. And see you next time.
Bless up.
Thank you.